Yeah, man. Back again, 1,000 days in the building. Life to glory, recovery. What can I say? The crowd's coming in now. Look at this. Okay. All right, meetings adjourned. All right, let's rock and roll here. Gratitude. Oh, we in the building. 1,000 days. We outside. All right. All right, go ahead, Jay. Yes, sir.
I had a wonderful sponsor who, took me very gently through the steps, and I didn't even know it. But also about living life in sobriety, and he said we talked about gratitude. And my reaction, I don't know whether I said it or just thought it and acted that way. What have I got to be grateful for Christ's sake? I'm in freaking AA and I got to do this, I got to do that. He said, make a gratitude list. And I said, oh, gratitude what? He says, all right, start with this. Do you have a car? Yes. No, he said, do you have a job? I said, yeah. He says, you have a car to drive to work? I said, yeah. He says, you have a family, right? Yes. He says, you own your own home, right? I said, yes. He said, start with that. I said, well, okay. Just write it down if you have to. And I didn't write it down, but I started saying, God, thank you for those things. My gratitude list is just like that. Just because he told me that little thing. How do you express gratitude? He said, say thank you. Like I did this morning. I said thank you to God. And I said thank you yesterday. I have a gratitude list in the morning and in the evening. And what it's done for me, or what it did for me, was it changed my attitude. And that brings up the next one. They say you gotta have an attitude of gratitude. Oh yeah, sure, yeah. You guys get everything down and you're all grateful, but what about me? You guys, I don't have to, well, baby John, right? And so I started to try to do that, help God. And finally, I forget. No, it was about 3 months, because I was in it, I remember the story. And when I finally came back and surrendered, I was about 3 months old. It was Christmas time. We went to a meeting out there in Wellesley. Anyway, the Wednesday night, we went into Route 9, Justin. And the guy that was running the meeting, we had a discussion. We were about 10 people, and it was Christmas Eve. I went to the meeting. And he said, remember this, you gotta have gratitude to change your attitude. He said, that's backwards. No, now back 3 months and I know everything. He was sober 20 years, and I thought he got it backwards. You gotta have an attitude of gratitude. And what he said was, you gotta have gratitude to change your attitude. Me knowing everything after 3 months back, he said it backwards. So anyway, I said that to Jimmy Mack. I said, don't worry about it, whatever. He said, a couple of weeks later, my memory is getting a little bit. Anyway, the fellow that was sober for more years than that, 25, he started one of the den rooms up there. He said, wrapping up his little talk, he said, remember, you gotta have gratitude to change your attitude. He said the same thing. And I think, what is with these old guys? For Christ's sake, they're all saying it backwards.
Right.
Guess who had it backwards? Because once I started developing the process of saying thank you, God, my attitude started to change. I began to recognize that I had more things than I ever dreamed of, and more opportunities than I ever dreamed of. More not good stuff happening in my life just by saying thank you. Thank you for what? Thank you for this, my grandson gave me that new Red Sox mug. It's a big one. I can put nice coffee in it.
Yeah, man.
Thank you for that. Thank you for the telephone. Just little stuff, thank you, God. And why was that important? Because I started to be able to see that there's lots of people that don't have a big, whatever.
Right, sure.
Things that we have.
Right.
And they're struggling. And not everybody has what we have. And it started like that, anyway, just, but that's the basic thing, say thank you. And I started to do that, and what happened is my attitude began to change. I began to recognize that I was a lot more fortunate than I ever dreamed of. And as I got sober, around a length of time, I got more grateful for that. You know my story, my mother died from drinking, for Christ's sake. It's in a coma. And I'm here a long time since I stopped drinking. I'm here a long time sober. And every day I say thank you in the morning and thank you at night. And it's because God and folks like yourselves have helped me stay sober.